Thanks, Jeff. All right, it's my honor, kind of, and pleasure, kind of. We got to bust his chops a little. Introduce to you Mark Niemeyer, who's the president of the Western Fire Chiefs Association, current chief of Boise Fire Department. He's missed a few of our conferences since his presidency started, so we got to bust his chops every now and again that he forgot where Montana was on the map because he went to a lot of other places before he came here. But luckily, we got him here today. So, with an introduction like that, please welcome Mark Niemeyer, Western Fire Chief or Western Presidents Association.
All right, now I got to figure out how to work technology. So, Rich, don't leave. I might have to help. It's bad when I ask a cowboy to help me with technology. You got it? All right. I'm just going to talk. I hate microphones anyway. So, thank you for the warm welcome. See, last year I was going to be here with you. My daughter got married. It was a little bit more important. My wife was divorced. I apologize. I do have a weird, long family connection with Great Falls. Great Falls. Charlie Russell, my great-great-great-grandfather was the best man in the West. The home I got the marriage certificate of Charlie Russell that same time at Koichberg in Great Falls. So I have a little bit of a connection here to Montana, but happy to be here.
Which one is the chief?
It was this one right there, yeah. Yep. Let me cover a little bit about who we are and what we do, and we'll talk a little bit about even some of the things that you've been talking about here today that we're working on. GMT, I'm not going to burst the bubble, Rich, but we've got some updates on that too that we can provide. So let me get through this. Perfect. Not staged. Awkward moment. Sorry about that. Drink your coffee. Enjoy some time.
Do you want to get you the microphone so you can?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Oh, no, not that one. Wrong presentation. All right, so any good dad jokes that somebody wants to tell while we get this thing loaded up? I would say that the Western focuses on technology as one of our pillars, but that would be a bad statement right now. Yeah, there we go. All right, now we're rolling. Excellent. So yeah, FirstNet, obviously a connection to the Western and FirstNet through Jeff Johnson, our past CEO. We can talk about that here in a little bit. But who are we? This is who we are. So how many of you guys are members of the IFC? Yeah, good. Okay, so if you're a member of the IFC, check the box that becomes a member of the Western. But if you're not a member of the IFC, we don't run around in all our events asking you to show us your IFC card. Everything I'm going to show you today, whether you're a member of the Western Division or not, you still get benefit too. So I'm going to ask you to take out your phones. This is a little bit interactive. I've got some things on the slideshow that I think you're going to be interested in that we've built some QR codes for. But that's us. That's us in the West. And I was just talking with our friends from Mo Valley. We are the biggest U.S. division of the IFC. I can't say we're the biggest because the Canadians got us beat. That covers the entire northern hemisphere, the Canadian division. But we go everywhere from Alaska all the way through the West, down into Hawaii, and then Guam and the Pacific Islands. So that's what we cover. That's who we are. And technology is really not going to be my friend. So we're just going to go this route. I always want to say thank you to the state presidents and then also our board members. And in your state, I have to put Calgar up on this pedestal because he's serving both roles right now. So Rich, thank you for all your efforts for Montana. We have had great representation on our board for Montana, great engagement. Right now, Rich is kind of filling dual roles, but we're excited to have Rich on our board. If you think about the Western and what we focus on, it's really three pillars. Wildfire, because it affects every state in the Western Division. There's not one state in the West that isn't affected by devastating wildfires. We focus on technology because we want to bring all of you and your states the best technology that we can provide to all of you through the vendors and partners that we have. And we vet those out for you to your benefit. And then our last leg is professional development and growth. We'll talk about some of our opportunities that we offer in those spaces. But Rich, thank you and your state for all your support. And then this is the rest of our executive board. Really the two guys I want to talk about, Jeremy Kraft, and you will meet Jeremy. He's out of Lehi, Utah. He will be the next president of the board of our association. Jeremy is super good people. Like, he is down to earth, really good. He's a better cowboy than any of us, including Calgary. You can tell by that mustache that he has. And then Doug Shiragi represents our division on the IFC board. And Doug has been this steady pillar for us for many years. He is out of Anchorage, Alaska. And if you don't know Doug, if you haven't met Doug, get a chance to meet him if you see him, because he really is a pillar in our fire service. He's been around a long time, and he's got great advice and great wisdom that we've all learned from. All right, so what do? Really what we focus on is we try to identify challenges, and then we try and bring all of you solutions. That's our goal. We have a staff, a dedicated staff that's housed out of Wilsonville, Oregon, that works very hard to make sure that we're bringing you solutions to some of the common challenges we face. We had to put it in a nutshell. We lead, educate, support, and innovate. So let's talk about some of those challenges. We'll start with the easy one. How many of you guys get the daily dispatch in your email inbox? Okay, so if you don't, here's the deal. It's free. Very few things out there are free. This is free to all of you. If you take a picture of that QR code, that's going to take you to the daily dispatch. This is that interactive camera part. So get out your phones, open up your camera, take a picture of that QR code. You just sign up for the daily dispatch. Here's what you're going to get. Every day in your inbox, you're going to get an email from the daily dispatch. It's going to have national news stories. It's going to have news stories from across your state when you select Montana. Then you scroll down, it's going to have job opportunities. So if you're looking for a job, it'll have a list of job opportunities there. We have special articles, guest opinions. We have links to the events that we host. We have training opportunities not only going on throughout the West, but throughout the country as well. It's a great source of truth for everything you need, and like I said, it's free. You won't find that very often. The other thing we're doing to help spread the word of what's going on around our country and in the West is our Fire Headlines podcast. Samantha Didion, one of our staff members, she's former media. She leads this podcast. We have really cool, engaging interviews. So if you're a podcaster, if you got a long drive to work or a long drive home, it's a great way to kind of spend some time on the road. We had a two-part segment, and I'll get to it in a little bit, but we did the after action for Maui County Fire Department on the Lahaina fires, not only just Lahaina, but entire Maui, island of Maui. We did a two-part series in our podcast covering the after action of that Maui fire. So it's a great tool. It's a cool way to stay connected. We're on all the platforms, and this is where I'm not tech savvy, but we're on all the podcast platforms. So I know it's Spotify and iTunes and all the others. So just look for Fire Headline Podcasts. Great way to stay up to date. Another one of our partners that we're very proud of is Sourcewell. Tell me, in Montana, do you have legislation or laws allowing you to do group purchasing? Okay, you do. I know in Idaho we had to change the laws because our laws didn't allow for it. Sourcewell is a great place to go that has already bid out the products, so you don't have to go through that really long procurement process that most cities, most fire districts are going to require you to do, like bidding and all that. So if you know you need something, we just ask you to go to Sourcewell first. There's no kickback money coming to us. They're just a good partner of ours. We believe in them. They've done a good job of vetting. For us, when we hear from you that they don't have X, Y, or Z on their procurement list, we push them. So we're your conduit to make sure that if there's a tool or if there's a thing on there that you don't see and you want, we make sure we push Sourcewell to get it on there. All right. Wildfire, limited public information. How many are you using PulsePoint in your communities? Okay, I'm going to make a push for PulsePoint if you're not. PulsePoint was created by Richard Price. He was a fire chief out of California. And his original intent with PulsePoint was to get cardiac arrest survivability up. And PulsePoint is a public notification system. So if you have a cardiac arrest in your community, it sends out a notification, and those folks in your community that know CPR can then get to that person and start CPR before we even get there, right? Sometimes it takes us 5, 7, 9, 12 minutes to get there. PulsePoint was designed to do that. PulsePoint for us has turned into a community notification system on more than just CPR. When we have a wildfire event in our community, it goes out to PulsePoint, and before we can even launch a code red to community alert, they're getting alerted to a wildfire. So PulsePoint is a great partner. I would encourage you to take a look at them for your community. We've also partnered with them on our wildfire maps. So there's a lot of wildfire maps out there. And I live in the backyard of NIFC. They put out a lot of data through, I was going to say Naris, Irwin, sorry. And there's a lot of maps. But what we do is, for those of you that have Pulse Point, we connect Pulse Point to our wildfire maps. So you're not only getting the federal incident information on a map, but you're also getting local information on a map. For us, you have to have 1 bar of service, and that's it. So for us, we're a big recreation state, just like Montana. When our folks are out recreating, as long as they have 1 bar of service in our map, they get notifications of fires going on in the area. It's been a great tool. We also do a lot of wildland fire articles. We have been reached out to by CNN, MSNBC, NBC, as we've had fires in the West as a source of truth. They know that we are collecting that information from across our states. So we're getting a lot of phone calls from the media when we have our large-scale wildfires going on throughout the West. All right, let me talk about legislation, and this is where I'm going to rain on Rich's parade a little bit. But as Rich mentioned, we do have a ledge committee, and the intent behind that was that we saw great legislation going on in each of our states, and we said we need to have a way to bring all of that together under one banner so that each state can learn from the best practice legislation. Let me give you an example while I destroy the computer. We were able to pass some pretty robust mental health legislation in Idaho. And as we talked to our friends in Arizona, here in Montana, Utah, they were trying to figure out how to do that in their state. We were able to pass them off our legislation and everything that went behind it to then help other states build their own mental health legislation. We've been able to do that and share that across each of our states. Here in Montana, I'm sure you have legislation that we all could benefit from. As you go through your session, we're going to learn from all of you. So that group, headed up by our board member from Idaho, Charlie Butterfield, we have representation from each state, as Rich alluded to. We will continue to learn from one another to better collaborate on the best practice that we have going on in our states and get the legislation where we need to. I'm not going to hit GMT yet, but it's coming, Rich. Let me share another thing that we do, and this is, again, an area where you can pull out your phones if you want to. I was down with the Arizona fire chiefs, and I was listening to them talk about some of the work they were doing, and they had a presentation up there from Dr. Burgess, who was talking about a collaborative firefighter study on cancer co-partnered through Arizona State University and the University of Arizona. They were specifically drawing blood and taking urine from firefighters. This is going to sound bad. I just realized how I said that. They were getting blood and urine from firefighters, testing PFAS levels in their system. Right? PFAS is a big issue right now across the entire country, certainly in the West, and all of our firefighters are asking, Chief, what are you doing about this? I'm putting on turnouts that have PFAS in it. We know PFAS causes cancer. What are we doing about it? This study is taking a look at what are truly those levels in firefighters, and then for those with higher levels, they have a treatment plan that they're testing. So as I was talking to the folks down in Arizona, I said, look, this is awesome you're doing it in Arizona. Are you willing to do this anywhere else? And they said, absolutely. And I said, can I share this with every state that I go to, from Alaska through the West down to Hawaii? And they said, absolutely. So I will tell you, we have brought this study to Idaho, and we have brought this study to Utah so far. Washington is in line next to get the study, and it was all through this QR code right here, that if you take a picture of that and you want to bring this study to Montana, they have said, we'll come. It's voluntary, right? So we opened it up to our valley, all of our firefighters. I think we had 230 firefighters show up to get their blood levels drawn, pee in a cup, and then get tested. And we had about 6 that had elevated PFAS levels. So they're now entering the second phase of this study to see if they can reduce those levels of PFAS in their system through some blood work and transfusions. So this is a great study. They're proactively trying to address this issue. It's now open to all of you through this code if you're interested. All right, collective voice on national issues. This one that I usually talk about with most states in the West, I'm not going to be able to talk about here in Montana, and I can't talk about it in Idaho. OSHA is proposing rule changes that are all the right things for firefighter safety and wellness. So let me start there. The OSHA proposed changes are all the right things for firefighter safety and wellness. The challenge is there's no funding to it. And as you know, OSHA, if you have a state plan, mandates that you follow their rules. There's only 2 states in the West do not have OSHA state plans. We're in one of them right here in Montana and in my home state in Idaho. So you are a state, along with ours, that doesn't necessarily have to worry about this OSHA change, yet we should be aware of it and informed with it. I know in Oregon, when I was there with their chiefs, I had a mid-sized department, 5 stations, saying if I have to implement all these changes tomorrow, it's going to cost me $6 million and I don't have it. And the challenge with OSHA is if you don't meet it, you get fined. So this is a big deal. This is a big deal throughout the country. IFC is heavily involved. We're working to try and find compromise. We have offered up our solutions to it. We have not given a formal opinion from the Western Division on this because it is the right thing to do, but there has to be federal funding tied to it if we're going to make it happen. So this is a big one. Let me get to GEMT because this is another issue where we're trying to represent all of you. Idaho is one of 4 states that passed their state plan. 2 years ago, the governor sat in front of my fire station, signed it into law. We sent it through the Fed system, got to CMS, which is back in DC, and they have held up our plan and our approval for 2 years. Right? They've held up Kentucky for 2 years. They've held up New York for 2 years. They've held up, I believe, Arkansas for 2 years. I have been on calls in the last 3 weeks, 4 calls with CMS, along with President Waldo, past President Butler, and the 4 states that are being held up, asking why. The challenge here is this. GEMT, Ground Emergency Medical Transport, is a Medicaid transport reimbursement program. That's what it is. Prior, when other states got approved, non-transports were also getting reimbursement as they responded to patients that were Medicaid patients in collaboration with the transport agencies. CMS has now said non-transports are not eligible, meaning fire departments that don't do transport are non-eligible. We believe that's wrong. We believe it's the wrong interpretation by CMS. This has gone to our congressional delegations. It's making its way to the administration for some help. CMS is not giving us clear answers yet, but I can just tell you, we're going to keep fighting on behalf of all of you and all of our states in the West. For some of our departments, Dallas-Fort Worth, I think it was about a $14 million hit to their budget because all of a sudden CMS decided to change the rules midstream. This is an area where we as the Western Division are heavily involved. We're in partnership with the IFC and Ken Lasala, the IFC lobbyist. So hopefully by the time, if you're talking about getting a state plan approved, hopefully by the time you do that, we'll have this thing resolved. But it's become a pretty big challenge for us that we're fighting hard for. All right. That's Eric Skablix. We won't watch him. I talked about the after action. This is another one that's publicly available. If you're curious and you want to read about the fires in Maui, there was a big federal investigation that took place, and that was through our U.S. Fire Administrator, FEMA, and others. What we did is we got a phone call from Chief Ventura out of Maui, and he asked, can you do an after action for us just to look at our fire department? Tell us where we could have done better. We have seen the fires throughout California. We were a big part of the after action in, I just lost it, Paradise, sorry, the campfire in Paradise. So Brad reached out to us and said, can you do an after action just for our fire department? We need to know how to get better. We sent Bob Roper and Kim Zagaris down for about 3 weeks. They interviewed community members, they interviewed the firefighters. The challenges they had that day on Maui that really didn't get widely reported. What got widely reported was Lahaina, right? We all saw it. What didn't get reported is the challenges those firefighters faced on other fires that were occurring before Lahaina even started. So imagine fewer resources, limited resources with 3 to 4 major fires going on. But what got reported was Lahaina because of the devastation. We provided this report to Maui County Fire Department. They took that to their commissioners, and as a result, they've been able to get their staffing levels up, their community preparation up, their mitigation up, as well as some of the public communications now that they're doing there in Maui County. This is available for you to read if you'd like to. It's publicly out there, but we're really proud of this work. It's not something that we were really in the business of doing, but they reached out to us, and we said, for sure, yes, happy to help. I want to talk a little bit about Emergent. This is a new partner of ours, and as we look at the challenge, what we try and do for all of you, look, you guys are inundated with technology opportunities, right? If you're like me, you get all kinds of emails from all kinds of vendors saying, hey, let me show you our stuff. What we try and do is vet that out a little bit for you and also work out an arrangement where we can get you best pricing for various things. So Emergent's a new partner of ours. They're partnered in here with Pierce. Here's what Emergent does. For $1 a call, so if you're a department that runs 5,000 calls, it's $5,000. You run 10,000 calls, it's $10,000. Here's what they offer. They have an apparatus tracking tool that will tie into your apparatus and tell you everything you need to know about that apparatus in real time. Right? Brake wear, all the things that your mechanics would want to know, but in addition to that, all the data that you might want to know about how many gallons did we flow on that fire. Anything that has a sensor on an engine will report into this dashboard that Emergent has created. That's one aspect of the base package. The second one is a tactical board, right? You've probably seen those before. You might work it off an iPad or something where you have units showing up on scene and then you give them assignments. So that's number 2. The big one is number 3, and that is the tie-in to currently NIFRS, but what's coming next is NERIS. You guys heard about NERIS? Have you been inundated with NERIS? All right, so NERIS is the new national platform that Dr. Lori Moore is pushing forward. All of that tactical board information fills into your NERIS document. Right, so here's the goal with Emergent. It was built by David Blankenship, and as we formed our agreement with them, my question to David was, can you reduce report writing time by 80% through your technology? Right, think about that. You go to your fire captains and you say, I'm working to get you a new system that'll reduce your time in front of a computer by 80%. Any of your firefighters going to say no to that? Like, I know mine are going to like jump for joy, like, really, I don't have to sit in front of this damn computer anymore and provide you crappy data? That's what Emergent's working towards. So we really want to promote and support Emergent. We do have special pricing. So we built an agreement with them that you get a reduction if you talk about Western and our connection. We have Western Fire Chiefs price, and it's 5% off what their cost is to everybody else. We also, through that agreement, said you cannot raise your annual prices by more than 4%. I don't know about you all, but software for me is one of the highest rising costs in my budget. I've had 12% increase in software. I've had 16% increase in software. Some of these companies are completely out of control. We built this agreement so they can only raise prices 4% a year. That helps you in your budget and planning. Let me talk about Force. And I want to thank Brian for coming to Force in Sisters, Oregon. You guys sent Brian to us. We did Force a little bit differently. So Force has been a long-standing leadership program that Jeff Johnson created. Force stands for Fire Officer Ranking Chief Executive. I don't know how he came up with that thing, that acronym. But it's been a really good, intimate conference for emerging leaders for a long time. But in the past, once you had a ticket to it, you had a season ticket. So Tom Coons always got to come. Calgar always got to come. And I had to call him and say, you don't get to come anymore. Because what we did is we called each state and said, you send us your names. You know who your emerging leaders are, and we want them to have an opportunity to come. So we mixed up the formula. We had 60 emerging leaders or current leaders across the West attend Force last weekend. If you want to know more about it, talk to Brian. He just went through it. He just experienced it. Next year, we're going to engage Montana again in all the states and say, we got some seats, send us your best names, and you guys tell us who you want to come. So really happy with how it went out. We had great speakers, great collaboration. I think, Brian, you would agree you have a new network now of people that you didn't know before. So it's just a great opportunity. We encourage Montana to stay active in that. And then lastly, as Jeff Griffin mentioned, I want to talk about something we're doing for the first time. And we did this in part because I had to call a lot of folks like Tom, or I guess I emailed you. I didn't even have the courage to call you. We had to email a lot of folks that were used to getting to come to our stuff and say, you don't get to come anymore, but we have a new offering. We have never in the Western Division put on an annual conference. A lot of the divisions across the country have. We never have. So we're trying this for the first time. We're excited about it. We've got an incredible lineup of speakers. Those are on our website that you can look and check out. These are not necessarily speakers that you're going to see around the country kind of on the circuit. These are speakers that are talking about the emerging issues in the West. So we have wildfire as a tract. We have technology as a tract. We have health and wellness as a tract, and we have 4 incredible keynote speakers, along with the great networking stuff that we're known for. So you see the dates up there. Space is filling up pretty fast. We have an early bird registration until November 1st of $450. I know in my state, I don't know about here in Montana, we have a scholarship program that allows some volunteer chiefs to get to our state conference. We've been able to raise enough revenue through that. I think we're sending 4 volunteer chiefs to Ignite out of that scholarship fund. So really excited about Ignite and the opportunities there. It's going to be great networking. We did cap our attendees at 250. What we try and do in the West is keep things smaller and intimate so that you guys get great networking while you're getting great leadership and great conversations. So limited access to that, but there's still spots open, so if you're interested, please sign up. And then I'll just end here. I want to make sure that you know about our resource. So there's another QR code. This is just going to take you directly to our website. And like I said, if you're a member of the IFC and the Western Division, great. If you're not, these resources are still here for you. So you can go to our website. There's a lot of helpful information in there, a lot of opportunities through our partnerships that we have and that we share. And with that, Really appreciate your time. Glad to be here in Montana.